You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm so honored to kick off our spring term with one of our favorite guests that we've had over the past few terms, Elijah Tinson. Elijah is the student success coach, but also is responsible for coordinating a lot of the events that we have on campus. So those are the things that we're going to try to talk about today, and welcome back to the show, Elijah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course, it's our pleasure, and always great to hear about what events are going on campus and how we can encourage our students to get involved in those. So we're going to be talking about a lot of events. I have saved a few for our featured events of the term, but kicking off the spring term, you've got a lot of really cool events. We're going to go through them one by one here. You can just give us whatever information you have about them. Of course, you can always reach out to Elijah through email to sign up for any of these events, and there'll be additional information in Student Central. And of course, I will put your email along with this podcast if anybody wants to reach out to you about being a part of these amazing experiences that you have going on. Well, the first one coming up here very, very soon is the trip to the Camden Aquarium that's going to take place on April the 20th. So tell us a little bit more about the Camden Aquarium. Not only that, this is sponsored by BSU, the Black Student Union here at Central Penn College. So tell us a little bit more about this experience and what individuals that go can expect.
Yeah, so there's going to be 11 seats available because, again, we're taking the the campus van. And we're going to the Camden Aquarium. We're going to be leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning from Central Penn to go to Camden, New Jersey. And then we'll probably be there for about 3-4 hours at the aquarium. And then from the aquarium, we're going to go into Center City, Philadelphia, and let students just enjoy some time in Center City.
What's really interesting, and we'll come back to the aquarium here in a second. We were actually just talking about this off air. There is a lot of, especially in the Center City area, not only Independence Hall's right there, you've also got the Liberty Bells right there. There's a lot of really cool historical landmarks in a very small area. And if you're, able to even spend just a couple of hours in that small area, you're going to be able to hit some of the most historic points in really United States history, if you think about it. So really cool. So I have never myself been to the Camden Aquarium. So tell me a little bit more about the Camden Aquarium and what some of the sites that people might see.
I mean, it's been a while since I've actually went to the Camden Aquarium myself, because I'm originally from Jersey, so it's like 20 minutes away from where I lived originally. But it's a nice aquarium. It's not going to be the biggest aquarium, right? People think aquariums, they think of Baltimore. Baltimore's aquarium is big, right? Camden's is relatively small, but it does have a lot of different animals fish and dolphins and things like that you can see in there. So it is pretty cool, nonetheless, to see the different animals that they have in there.
Cool. And what are some of the things that maybe some of the people that, in addition to what I said, can see from if they've never been to the downtown Center City, Philly before? So
I mean, like you were just saying, some of the historical sites, right? I mean, if you never had a cheesesteak before, I feel like Philadelphia is the prime place to start. So there's some places down there that you could probably get some.
So I got a secret for you here. Everybody knows Pat's and Geno's, right? But anybody who's spent any time in Philly will tell you that those are really just tourist traps.
100%.
And I am preferential to, and I hope this place is still there, Joe's. Do you know Joe's in Fishtown?
Mm-mm.
So it is on a variety of different cheesesteak lists, often ends up not necessarily always at one, but certainly always is in the consideration. And we just randomly found upon this place. It's probably a bit outside of where you guys are going to be. Maybe you can make a special trek down there. But Joe's Steaks down in Fishtown is, in my opinion, the best cheesesteak that you can get when you go to Philly.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very, very tough topic, especially for anybody in Philly, right?
And I'm sure people would battle me on that one. Of course, Pat's and Geno's, listen, I've been there. Frankly, how can you mess up steak, cheese, bun? I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
You can mess it up.
And that's what's interesting is, a lot of people really are against sending people to Pat's and Geno's because there's so many other places around the city that make an amazing cheesesteak. And a lot of times, I haven't been to Pat's and Geno's for a long time, so I hate speaking ill of them without giving them their fair due. But I just go to Joe's. Like if I'm going to Philly, I make it a point to stop by Joe's Steaks, and it's sort of got like a 50s diner theme. But man, you won't leave there hungry, that's for sure. All right, so again, April 20th to the Camden Aquarium, and stop back on the way home in Center City, Philly, and check out the site, sponsored by BSU. Another thing that you have going on is the Paint and Sip Night on April 24th at 7 p.m., sponsored by the AAB. Talk to us a little bit about this. Did your Paint and Sip event last term get postponed?
Yeah, so it got postponed. There's some mix-ups, but so we're running it back this term, making sure it happens this time. And previous terms, we've done it. It's been a really, really good event, really successful, really engaging. We've had anywhere between 15 to 25 students that showed up and participated. Again, it's just a time to just have fun, chill, paint.
So for people maybe who've never been to a paint and sip night before, can you just kind of let's talk about the paint part, and then we'll get to the sip part here shortly. What if somebody just doesn't feel comfortable with their artistic skills?
Oh, I mean, so with that, again, it's really just, so we have somebody that comes in and you can follow along with what she's doing. And look, I am not an artist of any sort. So I try to follow along. It turns out like a hot mess at the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh, if you squint, my painting kind of looked like her painting, but like, so I think it really is just an opportunity for some people that even if they don't feel comfortable with their artistic abilities, just to kind of get themselves out there a little bit. And it's really just, nobody's really judging your painting when you get there.
Well, right. And I'll tell you, I have seen some people who also, I've never done one, but I've seen some people, my wife included, who doesn't have much artistic ability. And I mean, you would be shocked how nice these paintings look because of the way that the person who's walking you through does sort of guide you through the process. And essentially, after I spoke with her, she said that she actually learned a lot about just general art and like how to approach it through this sort of paint and sip type of atmosphere. So I think that that's really cool. And if nothing else, like you said, okay, well, if you're not necessarily the best artist and it's something that you like, so you got to start somewhere. I mean, and that's the best place because you'll have somebody guiding you through the entire process, which I think is cool. Not to mention that you get a really cool keepsake, right? You get to take something home with you. You can hang on the wall, give to your parents, what have you.
I have two of the paintings that I've done in my office hanging up right now as we speak.
And hey, someday they might be worth millions, Elijah.
Yeah, right.
I do want to just point out, obviously we are on a college campus. Just for anyone who's curious about this, the sip aspect is not alcohol. You can elaborate on that a little bit.
It's a mocktail. So, it's basically everything without the alcohol in the drink, right? So all the stuff that you would mix together to make that.
Correct. And so it is not alcohol-free endeavor, but nonetheless, it will still be really cool. And trust me, there's a lot of really interesting things you can do with mocktails too, by the way. So again, that's April 24th, sponsored by the AAB, the Paint and Sip Night at 7 o'clock. Last thing I want to talk about before we get to our featured events of the term is a bowling event that is also sponsored by AAB that will be taking place on May 29th. There isn't a time specifically set up yet because we're talking about like week 7, week 8 of the course. But again, all of that stuff will be in Central Station. So are you a bowler yourself?
I am terrible at bowling. If anything, I probably need bumpers half the time because I'm that bad. So I will never tell somebody I am the greatest bowler in the world because I am definitely not.
Well, do you have fun?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll sit there like, if I get a strike in an entire game, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm happy with that. You don't got to hear anything from me for the rest of the day. I'm cool. But
one of these times we will – so I am a bowler. I've been bowling since I was 8 years old. I took some time off in college. So I bowled from when I was 8 till about the end of high school. And then when I went to college, the local bowling alley wouldn't let any of the college students participate in the leagues because of issues that they had had previously with students just not coming or not paying and so whatever. So I didn't bowl in a league until probably about 6 or 7 years ago again. We took the kids bowling and stuff like that. So I kept some practice. But gosh, I'm better now than I've ever been. And I finished my fall league with over a 200 average. So
yeah, I can get maybe over 100, and that's maybe. So you got me beat.
That's what I'm saying, though. Maybe not in spring, but maybe like summer or something. I would be happy to do lessons. You know what I mean? Just go out for an evening. I could try to, I mean, of course, be fun, but like I could try to work with some people to try to help them out a little bit. And especially for those bowlers out there, the number one thing that you can do to improve is to buy your own ball. And the reason I say that is because the balls that you get at the alley are plastic balls, and you can get them to hook a little bit, but for the most part, it's straight. And there's a lot of really simple things. Like I personally believe that within an hour of working with a group of folks that you would already be able to see some improvement. So, because I've never actually taught people. I mean, I work with my son. I've never really taught somebody how to bowl, but I'm pretty sure I could try, and I think that would be pretty cool.
Well, I guess we can say coming in summer of
yeah, no, seriously, I would absolutely do that. I love bowling. It's a passion I have. It's one of the few things, at least sports wise, that I'm good at. So like I do and hope that I can share the game. But why I really appreciate bowling so much is from 3 years old to 103 years old. I mean, you can be a bowler. So like, you know, if you're going to take the time to get good at something, or even just casually, like the better you are, the more you enjoy it. I would think, like once you start to unlock some stuff. But I would love to do that. So let's make a date over the summer. I would love to do that.
We'll talk. We'll get that done.
Because I'm not actually bowling in a league over the summer, so I'll always appreciate getting back out to the alley when I can. So, but yeah, I would love to do that. And hey, anytime you hear a tournament or something and you need a ringer, let me know, because I can hold my own. I'm certainly not the best person in my league, but I was in the top 10 for highest averages. So, but it's something that I love to do and still do pretty regularly. Cool. So again, May 19th, AAB sponsoring the bowling night, and stay tuned. Summertime, we'll get to some bowling lessons if you'd all be interested. All right, well, I want to take some time to really highlight a couple of key events that we want to look forward to in both May and June. These are events that Elijah and I talked about that we really wanted to take some time to highlight. And the first one of those is going to be the BSU and Public Safety Cookout that's going to take place on May 16th. Again, time to be determined, but should be sometime in the afternoon. So share with me a little bit about how this all came to be and what we can expect.
So I think... you know, with some of the things that have happened on campus in the last few years and things like that, felt like it was a good collaboration to have BSU and public safety kind of put something together, you know, to help kind of bring some form of engagement with students and public safety in general, right? Public safety is going to be on the grill. They're going to be taking care of that. So we'll see who decides to get on the grill for them. But we're just, you know, trying to facilitate some positive environments on campus and things like that, trying to uplift rather than, you know, divide type stuff.
One thing that I felt that was interesting that the public safety has done, and I know that you're not a representative of public safety, but they had been doing the Cup of Joe with the public safety officers. What kind of response did that get, and do you think that's something that we can expect in the future?
I mean, to be honest, I really don't know how much.
This is a difficult question to ask you and put you on the spot.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know how much of a response they got from that. I do think the cookout will probably give more of a response than what that probably did, because, you know, again, it's more food rather than just, like, not everybody drinks coffee, for example.
Right.
Everybody eats burgers.
Well, for the most part. But, you know, if nothing else, before we leave this topic, Elijah, like, one thing I do appreciate that public safety is doing is they are acknowledging that they want to have a better, I don't want to say reputation, but they want to have a better standing around campus and the way that people perceive them. And I think one way to do that is to make themselves seem like just normal people that are here to do a job and protect and serve. And if nothing else, our students should be grateful that they are in a place that has a strong security presence and hopefully can feel safe, as opposed to, you know, feeling like security is coming down on them.
Yeah, and I do think that it helps build the community at Central Penn a little bit more, especially on campus, right? Because, again, like, some people might see public safety and they're not thinking of them, like you said, as a person. They're just like, oh, that's a public safety officer. No, there's Marcus, there's this person, there's that person, like, specifically knowing them by their names and everything and getting to understand who they are, right? They got same interests the same way we do. They enjoy sports like we do, enjoy doing different things. And it's better to be able to take it to a person basis rather than just looking at them based on their position. So I do think that they are trying to do a better job of really, really building, like you said, building up their reputation and building rapport with students on campus and things of that nature. So,
and again, just instead of framing it as somebody is, coming down on you or keeping an eye on you or what have you, looking at it as, they're keeping you safe. They're making sure nothing bad is going to happen to you. And so, I totally understand the perspective. And I think that these are the types of things that can be really beneficial for our entire campus community, not only just with students, but faculty and staff as well. We don't often get to, interact with them in that sort of capacity either, as more of a laid back type of conversation. And again, speaking as someone whose grandfather worked for the Harrisburg City Police for his entire career, I have a great respect for people who work in that field because essentially, they are taking their life in their hands on a daily basis. And, I like to at least thank and appreciate those individuals. So, well, I think that's really cool. All right, one of our other marquee events this term is the Activities and Athletics Banquet. That's going to be on May 23rd from 5 to 7. This is a free event for students and faculty and staff. And so the ability to recognize some of not only just our amazing athletes here, and of course, we will be announcing the Nightly News Player of the Year again, as we have in the past, but also the opportunity to take a look at some of our clubs. So what does this, in terms of somebody in your position who is responsible for, getting some student engagement, how important is this to not only our athletes, but our club members as well?
I just feel like, to a point, everybody should somewhat get recognized for, some of the good things they're doing, right? In terms of just the club's aspect in itself, like there's a lot of different clubs on campus that I think to a point, a lot of people don't even know. Like they don't realize, they're doing events here, for example. You got BSU and AAB, which is, they do a lot. But then you got like Art Club is the one, for example, that I feel like a lot of people, they don't necessarily realize that there's a art club on campus, and different clubs of that nature. So Armed Forces Association, right? Different ones like that. And I think this helps kind of spotlight them a little bit more, gives them their little time to shine too, per se, and actually really put themselves out there a little bit more. They'll also get their real shine at the Activities Banquet.
One thing I really do like about the Back to Class Blast, and why I encourage almost all my classes to go regardless of what term they're in, is because I do think, to your point, that a lot of people don't really realize all of the things that are available here on campus. And one of the most important things that I try to stress in the Nightly News, and why it's so important for our students to be a part of, if not our club, something, is because this is what employers want. They want to see people who are getting involved. They want to see people who take a leadership opportunity in one of these clubs. And frankly, at this point, there is no better time to be in a leadership capacity in some of these clubs because of, frankly, not having a large volume of students. There's actually more opportunity for those who want to take advantage of it. So by going to the Back to Class Blast each term, even if you feel there's always new clubs popping up, right? There's always different opportunities. So I hope that all of you consider not only just attending the Back to Class Blast week 1 of every term, but also coming to the Activities and Athletics Banquet to see what some of these clubs are doing and really the wonderful things that are going on here on a campus that we may just not be aware of.
Yeah. And then again, you got to give your laurels to the athletics as well, let them get their shine
100%.
So.
Of course, as you know, we are extremely involved with athletics, and it's always our pleasure to get to recognize the Nightly News Player of the Year. We have not had a discussion about that, but we certainly will in plenty of time. All right, the last marquee event that we want to talk about is karaoke. That's going to be taking place at 6 o'clock on June 5th, later on this term, as sort of a way to kind of blow off a little bit of steam as people get ready for final exams. But share with us, I think we all know what karaoke is, but maybe share with us some of the experiences you've had doing this.
Yeah, so actually the last karaoke night we had last term was probably, I think, the biggest turnout in regards to students. We probably had about 20, 25 students that came out. But it was very fun, very engaging. I think every time we've kind of switched up the menu. So last time, for example, we had Chick-fil-A nuggets, but we also had like walking tacos.
Okay.
So like we try to every time we have a karaoke night around, we try to switch it up. So like it's a different menu every time.
So it's not even just karaoke, but you get dinner as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's engaging, and you don't have to be the best singer to go do karaoke. Trust and believe. There's some not so great singers that go and do karaoke, but hey, it's more about the confidence in yourself
Absolutely.
to go do it than it is about actually, really being a singer per se.
What's your go-to?
You asking me, and I'm like, I don't really like to sing myself.
I mean, I'm not big into getting in front of an audience and singing, but there's a small handful of songs that I like to sing.
I'll say I'll go from a general aspect of genre. I'll go R&B usually.
Okay. Hey, that's cool. I'm a rock guy myself, but I think that's also what's cool is not only do you get to get up in front of an audience, but you also get to maybe have a moment with a song that means something to you. And I always try to find songs that I can actually sing based on my voice, but I've been known to do some karaoke every once in a while, so I look forward to that as well. Well, I just want to give a quick recap. Again, any of these, you can reach out to Elijah or check out Central Station for more information. On April 20th, the trip to the Camden Aquarium and Center City, Philly will be sponsored by BSU. On April 27th, AAB will sponsor a trip to the Sports Emporium. And on April 24th, the Paint and Sip Night, also sponsored by AAB. Later on in the term, bowling night on May 29th. And then our three marquee events of the term, the first being the BSU and Public Safety Cookout that's going to take place in the afternoon on May 16th. The Activities and Athletics Banquet from 5 to 7 on May 23rd. And of course, karaoke on June 5th at 6 p.m. Sounds like you got a full term in schedule here, Elijah.
Trying to, like I said, my big thing with it is I want to make sure, and a lot of the clubs that I work with, that we want to make sure that there's a lot of events on campus for students to be able to do, right? Because if you're on campus, you got to do something to enjoy your time here, right? So why not?
And that's, as we end, I want to just kind of bring that together full circle. I think that's part of the college experience, man, is really maybe stepping outside of your comfort zone, getting to know new people, maybe doing a bowling when you're not like, don't look at yourself as a bowler, but it helps you create and foster some of these relationships that frankly, you'll remember the rest of your life. I mean, as I look back, even some of my best friends to this day were people who I lived next to in my freshman year of college. And hopefully these are friendships that you'll create, foster, and hopefully last for forever. And it's something that you hopefully can look back on your college experience with positive light,
For sure.
All right. Well, I think that we did a good job coming up with all this stuff. And Elijah, again, thank you so much, not only for joining us today, but for all the tireless efforts that go into creating an amazing activities calendar each and every term.
Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate it.
Well, we will continue having you back the first podcast of every single term, so you can always tune in to Elijah talking about all of the wonderful things going on campus and the first podcast of each term. But again, thank you so much for joining us. And, we look forward to having you back here in the future.
Again, thank you for having me here.
All right. Well, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. Wanted to thank Elijah Tinson, student success coach and a coordinator of our student activities. But until next time, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.
Greetings, Knights. This is Sir Will, your mascot, and you're listening to the Nightly News Podcast. Huzzah!
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm so honored to be joined by one of my favorite people on this campus, the Director of Career Services, Steve Hassinger. Steve, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Paul. It's always a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Well, we have a lot of really important things to talk about today, but also I want to introduce one of our esteemed Nightly News Media Club members, Noah Lopez. Noah, welcome back to the show.
Hey, I love being on the show.
Well, we love to have you. So just real quick, Noah, in just 2 terms, has already stepped up and is now our new news correspondent. Abby Bresky, who has been doing it for the past year plus, is in her last 2 2 terms and starting her internship. So she is moved on from the news correspondent position, and that will go to Noah. So we will hear Noah's debut for the nightly news brief later on this term. So we're looking forward to that, Noah. And Noah is also our general education work study and has been doing some wonderful work, not only with an archiving project, but in addition to helping us out with some really important things that we have going on in general education. So Noah, I want to thank you not only for your initiative in the nightly news, but also for your amazing help through our department.
Hey, man, it's always a great pleasure to be here and help people out. I love helping people out and being a part of this college and the community, being on the podcast. It's an honor. I've always wanted to be on a podcast since I was a kid. And ever since I started voice acting and doing voiceovers, I was like, I need this. I need to be on a podcast, you know?
Well, you'll be on a lot of podcasts this term. I've tried to schedule them during your work study hours, so you're going to be a frequent contributor this term.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be a main character on here, man. I'm going to be, like, reoccurring. They're like, when's Noah coming back, you know?
He'll be, for those of you that are fans of Noah, he will be back many times. And Noah also voiced our station ID, which I will put up in this podcast, of Sir Will.
Oh, yeah, I did Sir Will's voice.
That was so...
I had to give him a character.
So cool. I loved it. All right, well, we have a lot of really important things to talk about today, specifically 2 things that are going on. First of all, the JA Inspire Virtual Career Fair that's going on now through June 1st. And then we're also going to talk about an event that we have coming up on campus on May 7th, the Elevator Pitch and Networking Workshop that's going to be put on from Career Services. So we're going to talk about both of those. Well, Steve, let's start off with the JA Inspire Virtual Career Fair. This, again, is going to be taking place at jascpa.vfairs.com, and it is going on now through June, so basically much of the entire term. And so, Steve, I'm just going to kind of let you take the reins here, talk a little bit more about what it is, how to navigate it, and how students might be able to use it.
Sure. So this is a virtual job fair, which is a little different, obviously, than going to an in-person job fair where you're walking up to a company and you're talking to them. Here you're going to be able to explore them 24/7, well, not 365, but through the end of June at least, right? So it's an opportunity to do this at your own pace. You can come back, you can visit several times, obviously. The way they have it set up, they have an auditorium, and in the auditorium they have a variety of webinars that you can explore. And it's on a variety of topics. For instance, there's webinars there about a day in the life of some of the people who work at different organizations like M&T Bank, for instance. So you can learn from the employers, but then you can also visit the exhibit hall where the employers actually have their, quote, booths set up, right? And you can go to the booths and you can find videos about that company, about different types of jobs that they have. Some of the employers will have specific job postings there that you can apply to, and others may link you to their careers page on their website to explore the opportunities that they have available currently.
I mean, we're just looking at this right now. We went to the website. This is really cool. I mean, I really like that we are going sort of in this direction now. We will pause and as taken aside here and kind of want to bring Noah in as well. So Noah, you were had the opportunity to attend last year's CPEC job fair. In fact, it was your like second day on campus or third day on campus, and you got to check this out. So let's look back to your experience with the CPEC job fair. What did you like as you think back to it? What were some things that you appreciated about it, and what were some takeaways that you had from the event?
Okay, so it being my first job fair ever, it was honestly pretty cool. You like walk up to people. It kind of reminds me of like science fair in elementary school. They all have their own little booths. They have their little projects. Some of them will walk up to you and force you to talk to them, but it's okay because interacting with each different company, each different person, they had people there that represented their company, their personality, and it was nice to interact with them and truly get a feel of like what it's like. So I walked up to someone, they did daycare. The woman was very kind. She was caring. I could tell she probably took care of kids, you know? And it's nice to bond with people because for me, I like to talk to people. And I get a feel of what they're like, what they do. Just from like one conversation, I can know who they are and what they're like and if I want to talk to them ever again. So it was nice to be able to do that, interact with people. I mean, this is cool too. These are like virtual booths. It's freaking amazing. Look at technology, guys. 2024. Come on now. I mean, I'm baffled. I'm still baffled. But
well, let me just point before we come back to this, because I promise you we will. even in your first term, how, like, I appreciate what you're saying and all you're saying that's valid, but even in your first term, you're not even to that point where you're ready to look for a job yet. What benefits do you think that going to that in-person job fair gave to you above and beyond, just knowing what's out there, which is still very important? What were some of the takeaways that you had and some of the positives that you took away from that experience, even though you weren't necessarily looking for a job?
Plenty of benefits. One, it helps you learn how to talk to employers. You can learn how to interview. Some people interview right there on the spot. They'll be like, okay, so why could we hire you? And then you have to be able to come up with something, or you have to be able to lock in, get in there on the spot, and really put yourself in the position of maybe this is a potential future job. You're talking to someone who could be your boss tomorrow or even next week from now. And it can also help you network. You're gaining connections from multiple employers, and you'll have those emails in your roster. And anytime you want a job, you're like, "Oh, I remember I talked to WITF a few weeks ago," and then they're right there, and they'll have your name.
And I think that's. I am always such a big advocate of taking all my classes no matter where they are, but I also believe that depending on where a student is, there's different benefits that could come along with that, Steve. Whereas, if I take my first term freshman class, a lot of the benefits they're going to see are like what Noah's talking about. Whereas if it's more like a junior, senior level class, they're going to actually be going to, hey, I need to see what's out there now. So I do think that job fairs can benefit all students of all kinds, and just depending on not only what the class is, but what sort of level they are in their education.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And sometimes students will come to me. Matter of fact, I'm meeting with a student later this week who I said, well, what kind of companies are you interested in? Well, I'm not really sure what's out there, right? So as you talked about, it's a way to just figure out who are some of the players? What are some of the companies that are out there that I might be interested in, and what kind of opportunities do they offer? Now, if you're going to a job fair, we encourage you to do your research ahead of time, find out the employers that are there, and learn a little bit about them ahead of time. With JA Inspire, it's a great opportunity to go online and to do just that, to really explore different companies, different careers that are out there.
Steve, for you as been somebody who's been involved in putting together various job fairs over the years, I hope that we see sort of the positives, but we also see some of the negatives. And one of the big negatives to the in-person job fair is time and place.
Right.
And so what I've found is even with on-ground students, depending on what their schedule is, if they're working or unable to make it to the job fair, unfortunately and historically, there hasn't been a lot. There hasn't been a lot online. There hasn't been much of an opportunity for those people to engage in this job fair, which is why I think JA Inspire is unique. And I hope, in a way, the future, I hope that in-person job fairs don't go away.
Me too.
Because I really think there are so many benefits that just aren't going to be realized in a virtual space. However, on the opposite side of that, you also have to remember that those people that may not have had that opportunity to get to a job fair, now they can engage in it at any point and really learn a lot about the companies that are out there that are hiring, and also what positions are available.
Absolutely. And, we have a lot of different types of students. So we have a lot of students who work full-time during the day, and they're looking to transition in their careers, change careers, or they're looking to maybe advance within their career. And it's an opportunity for them, to go online at 9:30, 10 o'clock after the kids are in bed, perhaps, and explore these different companies and learn about these different opportunities. One of the things that I like in there as well is you can also, in addition to just searching individual companies, you can search by career clusters. So if you want to know about careers in health science, for instance, you can click on health science, and it will give you a series of videos about different types of careers within health science. Not every possible career, obviously, that you could do. So it's a great way to also explore different possibilities within career fields.
So you had mentioned, Steve, over 70 companies that are part of the JA Inspire Virtual Career Fair. I'm just going to read off just a couple. So Carlisle Construction Materials, Comcast, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Delta Airlines, there's multiple banks, there's a cluster of government and public administration, Hershey Entertainment and Resorts. You also have the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce, M&T Bank. I mean, I'm just giving a highlight of some of these, and there's many, many, many more. I would honestly, anyone who is looking for any type of job, even if it's not today or tomorrow, but within the next few months to a year, I mean, this is really, really fantastic. I love the way it's set up. It's set up just like you would think think a job fair would be. And you can scroll through. Each one, as you mentioned, has its own sort of virtual booth. You can click on them individually. You can learn about the companies. You can see what type of job openings they have. And in some cases, as the case of Disney, for instance, you can click right on their careers page on their website. So it's like a one-stop shop for all of these companies that are essentially some national, but many that are focused on the South Central Pennsylvania area as well. Steve, I mean, how did Central Penn College get involved with the JA Inspire Virtual Career Fair?
Sure. Well, Junior Achievement has been doing the virtual career fair for a few years now, and it was geared strictly to K-12 students for several years. A couple years ago, they opened it up to post-secondary, and they reached out to us in post-secondary in the area and said, would you be interested in partnering with us on this? We'd like to invite your students to participate. So when you go on to this virtual fair, you will see some videos and some things on there that are really geared more to K-12 students, right? But obviously, you can sort through. You can find the pieces that are most relevant for you. So Junior Achievement reached out to us, said we'd like to open up and expand it to post-secondary, and they obviously told the employers that they were expanding it to post-secondary as well. So you'll see additional opportunities on there for post-secondary.
Well, before we leave this topic, I'm just curious your thoughts on, obviously in podcasts past, we have talked ad nauseum about how to be prepared for an in-person job fair. Steve, how would you suggest, or what suggestions might you give to students who are maybe looking for an internship right now, and this is one of the outlets they're going to have to do so? How would they best use this platform?
Yeah, well, so the nice thing is this is a way to research. So you don't necessarily need to do your research ahead of time. You can just log on and you can go to the different sections and see the information that's there. However, I mean, it's helpful, obviously, to have an idea of what you're looking for. And you can gear your search towards certain companies, or as I said, looking under different categories. So in terms of how you need to prepare to go, all you need to do really is know the website and kind of have an idea of what you're looking for.
And the registration was so easy. It was so easy to sign up. Well, you don't even have to remember a password. It's all through your email.
Right.
Noah, what are your thoughts about how you might suggest a student, approach this situation with the online virtual job fair?
Well, I had so many questions. I first wanted to ask, why would they have a job fair for K through 12? What are kids?
Well, it's more career exploration than looking for jobs. Although, obviously, for those upper level, juniors, seniors, they might be looking for job or internship opportunities. But
yeah, didn't you have to do an internship in high school?
No.
I know that when my daughter was in high school, she had to do multiple internships, actually.
I didn't have to do any internships. I just had to get a passing grade.
Yeah, so it's more for career exploration, really, for K-12, for them to learn about different types of careers, what's involved in those different careers. So if you explore some of these videos, and most of these videos are fairly short, I would say 1 to 4 minutes. There's a couple out there that might be a little bit longer, 10 to 12 minutes, but it gives you a really good overview of what's involved in those careers and how people have gotten into those jobs and so forth.
I was also going to ask, with this website, does it go down after June? You can't use it anymore, or can you still access it?
You know what? That's a great question.
The students can still look for jobs.
I'm not sure, because last year's site was still up there after the event ended, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to log in or not.
Gotcha. So I really think and highly suggest that anybody who is, and this is just the last thing I want to say, I think one of the things that I've tried to bring into my class as much as possible, but I know is often difficult, is that career exploration piece. And just really going through, like, here are your different avenues. And Noah, you're in my public relations class. We're going to be talking about that within the next couple of weeks, is where are your different avenues if you want to get into this industry. Unfortunately, though, I don't know that just generally in higher education, we spend enough time here. And this would be a great supplement for people who are looking to just generally understand what is out there. Where are my options here for places to work? Steve, I'm so glad that we were able not only to talk about this, but that Central Penn College was able to get involved with this because, again, to your point, on demand, 24/7 until the end of June. JA Inspire, that's JASCPA.vfairs.com, and all you have to do is register, and it's we got logged in 2 minutes, so I really highly encourage students out there.
It's extremely easy. It was really easy.
Yeah. And one of the things that I did forget to mention is as you go through here, if there's videos, if there's information that you would like to keep, you can put it in your, quote, backpack. And actually that backpack can then be emailed to your email address.
I saw that. So we've got the exhibit hall, we've got the backpack, we've got the auditorium, there's a JA info desk, there's an activity lab with all that help you build your own resume and prepare your own application, test your knowledge on interviewing, deciding between different paths, or even entrepreneurship. So this is really, really cool, and I really highly suggest that our students take a look at that website. Well, Steve, before we get out of here today, I do want to highlight a special event that you have coming up on May 7th during Common Hour from 12:10 to 1 p.m. in eTech 310. This is the elevator pitch / networking workshop with members from Members First. So tell us a little bit more about what we can expect at that event.
Yeah, so we're partnering with you and a couple of your classes, but it's open to all students, obviously. And we are going to provide information on how do I network with employers. You know, the job fair is all about networking. You know, Noah talked about going to the event in the fall and, you know, walking up and some employers coming up to you and approaching you, right? So what do I say, right? How do I introduce myself?
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about what we call the elevator pitch. And basically the elevator pitch is, let's suppose that you got in the elevator with somebody from a company that you really want to work for, right? And you are in that elevator until you get, I don't know, to the 10th floor, the 12th floor, whatever the case may be. What would you want that person to know about you before the elevator doors open and you have to get off? So that's why we call it your elevator pitch. It's also the first interview question, which isn't really a question, but tell me about yourself. Right? Many times the employer starts it. Right. It's because it's so open-ended, right? So what do I say? So we're going to help people frame that. But we're also going to learn from the employers. So we're going to bring in a representative from Members First, and they're going to talk about, you know, how can you network with us? How can you best engage with employers? So you get an opportunity to learn from the employers. What do they prefer when they hear somebody that wants to network with them? And then you'll get to hear from us helping you put together what that elevator speech might look like.
No, as from a student perspective, and remembering that we're still kind of actively putting this whole agenda together, what might be some questions or comments or thoughts of things that you would like to learn more about in a networking workshop with an employer?
Specifically the elevator pitch or just networking workshop?
Just generally speaking.
Just generally speaking? Okay, for networking workshop, I think another skill I think would be amazing to learn in a networking class is how to maintain connections over time. Like if you find someone, not losing it in 2 months and then never having it ever again.
No, that's a really good point. One of the things even I struggle with is maintaining some of these connections that I've made. I mean, both you and I, Steve, part of our job is to network with folks. I mean, and it's difficult to just, other than saying, hey, just don't forget about me in an email, like that's just so weird. But when you think about how important it is to not only keep but mold and retain these connections, especially for someone in Noah's position who did go to that job fair their first term, and it's going to be another year and a half until he actually needs to, look for a position, whether it be an internship or part-time. That is, I think, something I don't know that I've ever heard anyone ask before, and I think that would be really, really unique in terms of an approach to this workshop.
I've already written it down. So we'll make sure that we incorporate it, and we'll obviously ask the employers, how do they want people to maintain contact with them as well? Obviously, we have LinkedIn as a great tool for us to do that now, but I have over 1,800 LinkedIn connections, right?
Boy.
So, what is appropriate in terms of follow-up, and, how do we best maintain those connections once we've established them?
What's a good way to reach out and not seem desperate and clinging on to life? Because if you seem desperate, an employer's not going to want you. They're like, oh, this guy's not confident.
But no, I know, and this is why I love having you in, because you're definitely coming from a different perspective, and we value that perspective very much. So again, everybody, save the date for Tuesday, May 7th from 12:10 to 1 o'clock in eTech 310. That will be the Career Services Elevator Pitch and Networking Workshop with members of Members First Federal Credit Union.
Looking forward to it.
Well, Steve, as always, it is just so wonderful to have you on, not only just talking about the things that you're doing on campus, but also the things sort of off campus. And the JA Inspire Virtual Career Fair just sounds like such a wonderful opportunity for those who are a variety of different places in their academic careers. So, Steve, thank you so much for tirelessly working to help our students find the bridge to their success.
Thank you for partnering with us. We always appreciate working with you and getting your students to our events, and always an opportunity to spread the word through the podcast as well.
And Noah, thank you so much for your time on the show. And I appreciate your different perspective, and I love the fact that we're going to get you on as many podcasts as we can this term, and that you're a new news correspondent.
News correspondent, man. Love the title.
I know, and I know that you're going to do a great job with it, and I'm looking forward to recording that later this term.
Never giving it away. I'll be the news correspondent forever.
We can do that. That's not a problem.
Oh, really?
We can do that. So Noah, again, thank you so much for all of your hard work, and you continue to be such a model student for our department. So thank you.
No problem. I love being on here, and being a model student's my thing. I'm trying to pass.
All right. Well, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. I want to thank Career Services Director Steve Hassinger for stopping by to talk to us about the JA Inspire Virtual Job Fair, as well as the May 7th workshop. So, Steve, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
And Noah Lopez, our Nightly News correspondent, as well as our general education work study. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show as well, and we hope to have you back soon.
Thank you again. I'd love to be here.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. For Steve Hassinger and Noah Lopez, this is Professor Paul Miller, and I'll see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.